Hey, it's your boy, Sergeant Hooked on Heroes, with the inaugural first episode 1 review slash recap of Ohsama Sentai King-Ohger. It's a bit of a downplay to say, a bit of a understatement to say I was pumped as fuck for this show. Ever since the designs were leaked, any story details came out, character things, anything, it's just more and more, just give it to me, just inject it right into my veins, right? I was really excited for this premiere, and I was my excitement was correct because it was a badass fucking premiere. King-Ohger is really unique in the way that it sets itself up, because it sets itself up in the very beginning of the episode with episode 1 as having like a big amount of lore and prophecy to it. I'm talking about these 5 warriors that banded together. They are known as the King-Ohgers, of course, and they, along with God Kuwagata and the other shoe gods, which are these other insect gods, the mecha, basically, defeated the Ragnarok, sent them away, blah, 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 destroyed them, whatever, sealed them away. And so, after that, they decided to set up their own 5 separate kingdoms, and lead those different places, right? And so that's kind of what they did. Shugodam was the main one where Red was, and then there's the other ones. There's Nakospa, I think, Gokhan, and I can't remember the other ones, but there's some of the other ones as well, right? Each one for a different, member of the team. And so, of the prophecy also has a second part to it, though, that one day the Ragnarok will return, and they will attack, and the King-Ohgers will need to come back together along with the shoe gods to defeat them. So that's where the story starts out. And in Shugodam, we get it set there, and they're having a bit of a festival, kind of celebrating the peace they've had, and blah, 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 and that these other royalties are coming through, these other leaders are coming through from their country to be in one spot at the same time. It's not happened in however long, 2,000 years, whatever. Everybody's really excited about it. And we finally get to see everybody together. So we got Kaguragi, who is the leader of Tofu. He's the Hachi-Ohger. We have Himeno, who is the leader. I can't remember what her place is called, but she is Kamakiri Ohger. We have Rita, who is leader of Gokhan, and is Populan Ohger. And then we have Yamagust, who is the Tamba Ohger. Are blue. So you have blue, purple, yellow, and black, respectively. So they come through and they're walking together pretty badass. And somebody even mentions, oh, that's the Ohger caliber. And they say, yeah, that's meant for royal blood only. Keep that in mind. One unique thing aesthetically that I want to talk about, because it's been like a huge thing in Toku Twitter talking about this, is the use of the LED screens they're doing now. So if you don't know, in The Mandalorian and a lot of shows, Marvel shows, Star Wars, different things, they're using what is called an LED screen technology. It's basically a giant, fancy, 3 different, huge green screens that are made out of LED screens that lets them film farther depth of field. Just in general, does better than a normal green screen, right? That's how they've been using the technology. They use it for Mandalorian. They used it for Marvel movies, Marvel shows. Well, now Toei has their hands on it, and now they're using it for King-Ohger. So most of the backgrounds we're seeing, yes, are CG, and yeah, they're not awe-inspiring, but they're decent. I don't think they're supposed to be like, oh, I watch it for the background. It's like, no, it looks all right. It definitely looks very much so inspired by things like Attack on Titan and Game of Thrones, but I think that's the kind of feel they were going for anyway. This being a very medieval type of place, with Shugodam at least, it would make sense why it would be stylized that way. So I really like it. I think it's good. I think it has some room for improvement, but I think that we should have seen that coming when we had an entire season with Dam Brothers last season that had 2 entirely CG Rangers. They're going to do something else, or they're not going to stop. So anyway, I really like it. I think it looks pretty good. Aesthetically really pleasing. I like how each of the different members of the team are very different in the way they're dressed and how they're characterized. Yamagust talking about right away how he's kind of pissed that the Red even thinks he's the leader and that it should really be him. He even tries to activate the shoe gods himself, and it doesn't work. God Kuwagata or whatever. So all of them meet up with the king at the palace, and he tells them about what's happening and that he wants to form an alliance with all of them, unite them together against this threat, and blah, 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 blah. And Yama basically is just like, fuck you, and he's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I don't know why Rockley's is the leader of Shugodam. I don't know why Rockley's thinks he gets to be a leader just because he's red. That's ridiculous. He's like, it was after 2,000 years of it being dormant, I was the one that converted Kuwagata into the, technology-based form it is now. So if anybody, it should be me. And he kind of has a point and kind of doesn't. I like this kind of clashing between him and Rockley's. So they're kind of talking back and forth, and with how they feel about that. We also swap over to the perspective of Gira, who is going to be eventually our Red, the King-Ohger. He's playing with some kids, and it's said that whenever he plays these like little imaginary little setup games, he always plays the villain of some kind, right? So he's playing with them, and he kind of says something that reflects a speech later on, and blah blah blah. And they kind of get interrupted because their parents get accosted by these two like basically palace guards who say they're collecting taxes, and right away, Gear was like, well, that's impossible. They've already collected their taxes. Like, they're good. What are we doing? And they're being dicks. And so him and the kids basically, like, shoo the guards away. I don't know why they left, but still. They're like, I wonder what happened. There must be some mistake. He goes, well, yeah, there must be, because the king loves the people. He would never hurt you guys. He would never take advantage of you. So, right after this, the Bugnarok attack. Huge scale attack. Lots of monsters. They have the normal giant monsters. We see that the minions, the ant-like things, can become giant, just like the ones in King-Ohger, I think, could do that. So that was really cool, and the effects for that were really awesome. And we see the Bugnarok leaders as well, but even more sinister than them is Shugodan, who we see is just kind of chilling in the palace, not really doing anything. And Gira somehow makes his way up there. We don't know how this happens. He just gets in the palace and just comes up there to talk shit to Rockley's. And he tells me, he's like, well, what's going on? And, you have to assemble the King-Ohgers. You have to get, the mecha together. There's a threat here. You're just sitting here. What's going on? And Rockley's essentially says, well, that's part of the plan. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, Yamagust, or Tamba-Ohger as he goes by, disrespected me by trying to say that I don't deserve the right to be leader. So I have a new goal now. I'll be taking full control over each of their residing countries. They will be all conformed into one that I will rule over. And, if the people get hurt, 3 people die, that's fine. Totally fine with me. And this pisses Gira off. Gira's like, what are you talking about? Like, they're innocent people. And he's like, they make up your kingdom. He's like, oh, no. They're just the people. I am the kingdom. And so it's like the super dark turn for the king. I mean, you kind of see it coming that he's kind of dickish and kind of like sees himself better than everybody. So that's been his plan from the start. And then he also says he's going to invade Nikospa right afterwards, after helping eventually with the Bugnarok. And Nikospa is where Tamba-Ohger is from, and take over. And yeah. So it's like, whoa, holy shit. So Gira's like, you know what? Fine. And he tackles him. He like runs past him and grabs him and takes his like cloak off and his sword. And he doesn't notice this the first thing. He's like, huh? And he has it on. And he says, he's like, well, fine then. He's like, if that's what you're going to do, if your plan is to, usurp power this way, to try to, rule with an iron fist like this and take, complete control over the people and, their lives and what they do with them, then I will stand against you in opposition. If you're the king, then I will be the king of evil in opposition to you. If that is what justice is, because he says that, if that is what justice is, I will stand in opposition as the king of evil. I loved this fucking scene. The emotion that Gira's actor put into it, the way the dialogue was written, the way that the subtitles actually followed the dialogue, I think decently well, was really good. To see Rockley's turn from this like kind of dickish asshole to just being a fucking tyrant out of nowhere, and to see Gira lose complete faith in everything he knew in terms of like the monarchy is behind us, they were the people, they're for us, and having that broken. And then instantly being able to like push past that and keep fighting for what's right. Very important. Definitely pushing him up there as a top red already before the series has even really gotten into full swing. But I love this. So he steals the cloak and he steals the Ohger caliber and he runs out. As he holds it up, it glows. And of course, God King-Ohger revives itself from the stone and everything it's in and activates, right? We also get to see before this, the other King-Ohgers transform and kick the fucking shit out of some of the Bugnarok. Holy fuck. The fighting choreography with the sword work and everything else in this show, holy shit. I knew it was going to be impressive, and usually Sentai like blows my mind with what they can do with their fight scenes, as does Rider to an extent, but it was impressive. Some real impressive shit. Just seeing them fight is just amazing. So he goes out there and he transforms. He pulls out the Ohger caliber. He hits the right buttons on the fucking boppin' ass sword, which I still don't understand how it works transformation wise, and transforms into King-Ohger, or as the sword says it, King-Ohger, and fights. And he pulls together the King-Ohger is the name of the mecha as well as the team name, which is weird. Pulls together King-Ohger. We actually see the Gatai sequence, which is beautiful. Really great sound effects. The effects for it, the lights in the background to it are really nice, seeing the pieces come together. And it's a practical fucking suit again. It's not CG again. Even though the CG was decent in Dawn Brothers, I wanted to return to having the suits again, and it seems like that's what we're getting. I'm really happy about that. And it's cool because of how he controls it. There's like this like overlay little mechanical contraption thing that like kind of goes over him, and when he moves, it moves, kind of a thing. And it's not just him that's going to control it, because we see in episode previews and stuff like that that it's going to be the whole team eventually. But he fights, destroys some of the monsters, blah, 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 beats back the forces, they leave, blah, blah, blah. And afterwards, he comes down, untransforms, the whole team's like, what the fuck? And he says, I'll be the king of evil, and blah, 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 and, take over the world. And he's just being a dick and just being, a jerk and, a jackass, if you will. And King straight up is like, yeah, that guy stole my sword, stole my cloak, he stole my drip. He's enemy number one. So he's a wanted criminal now. So as far as the premiere, probably one of my favorite Sentai premieres in the last, I don't even know how many years. Probably as long as I've been watching it. Just absolutely action right out of the gate. The emotion out of the gate. The story out of the gate is amazing. And they're really just doing a really, really great job with what they're trying to do with the show so far in the premiere anyway. I really enjoyed King-Ohger, Yamagust, Gira, and Rockley's the most. The others are fine, but we're going to see more of them. And I think it was supposed to be focused on these three to set up the primary conflict. It'll be interesting seeing how the conflict shifts with now Gira being red and leader, as opposed to Rockley's, who at least they knew was a competent warrior, but was kind of a dickhead, ruler, is still. And how that works. And there's also questions that are posed like, why did the Ohger caliber work for Gira? Why was he able to awaken God Kuwagata? Isn't it supposed to be all for royal blood? Is he secretly royal blood that was just shoved off to this orphanage that Rockley's could take power? Lots of questions there and lots of theories you could extrapolate here. But overall, a fantastic premiere. It definitely engrossed me right from second one, honestly. And there was multiple times I was on the edge of my seat and honestly in tears in certain parts of it because it was that impressive. So King-Ohger episode 1, absolute 10 out of 10 banger premiere episode. Really excited about the future of this season and what it's going to bring to the table for Sentai. I love that they're continuously trying to think outside the box. At this point, the box is destroyed. It's a corpse on the ground, and they've broken out of it and evolved. As far as content this week, Geeks episode 25 review, of course, and then also Henshins and Homies podcast. We're going to be talking about New to Toku. We got you. Our own recommendations for certain shows to watch, how to watch them, kind of a little sort of mini guide on what Toku even is, and then transitioning into our second topic, which is our favorite crossover episodes generally. But yeah, so that's going to be content for the week. Like I said, 10 out of 10 on the King-Ohger premiere. I really liked it. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of this week's episode for the premiere of King-Ohger. Love it, hate it in the middle. What do you think about the characters so far? And thank you so much for subscribing, for commenting, sharing, all that good stuff, watching the videos. Thank you also for subscribing to the Henshins and Homies podcast. We're at about 100 subscribers on that channel. Really impressed by that. Really proud of that. Thank you guys so much. But as always, stay hooked on them heroes. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye. Okay, Busto.